Okay, so this is our regular monthly meeting of the Board of Finance meeting, November 8th, 2022, 7:00 p.m. This is a hybrid meeting. We have, and this meeting is being recorded, video recorded, just so that everyone knows that we're being recorded. So Kathy Barone is on, hi Kathy, is on Zoom. Katie Erickson is present, John Grabowski is present. Lars has excused himself, Lars Demander. In addition, we have our finance director. Oh, and John Ford is here, so that's the 5 out of 6. Let's see, we have our first select woman, Paula Francisco, our corporate Hillary, and our finance director, Leslie Butchka. So the first thing is the minutes of the special meeting of October 12th. And would somebody like to move the minutes so that we can discuss them? Do you have a second?
Lisa Pell has been.
Oh, and now for the record, Lisa Pell has joined the meeting. Welcome, Liz. You can leave your sound on, your mic on. There aren't very many of us here. All right, so in the minutes of the meeting, does anyone have comments about them? Most of it is.
I just have one question. The working group for the grants, when is that going to start?
Well, we're going to discuss that tonight.
Oh, okay.
It's on the agenda.
Okay, good. Yeah, I saw that. Okay.
All right. Anyone? Comments or no?
Motion.
Yes, we had a motion from
I'm sorry.
Katie and seconded by John. Okay, then those in favor, say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Okay, John,
Stay.
you were here.
October meeting. Yeah.
You were? Okay. All right, so I vote yes. So the minutes are approved. So moving on, most of the items on the agenda tonight are extremely like 1 or 2 sentence things. Right. The first one under grants, they need to establish a process for formal application and monitoring. And the second one, which Liz just asked about, the working group. These are just here so that we don't lose them, because the working group should be working to establish the processes. What we need to do is find a meeting date, and we'll be sending out an email, Liz, to everybody who is on that committee to find a common time. Okay.
Yep, thanks.
Right. So the next one, the DEEP grant, they wish to present at our December meeting via Zoom. They actually wanted to present tonight, but we're not ready. We need for them to finalize that contract. Paula has one that's with Vin for review. But after that, we need to take that to RWS and figure out what actually the additional costs are going to be for transportation to Wallingford.
Yes.
To Wallingford. And then after the 9 months, what the additional pickup costs and such, because all that they've said so far is it will cost more because we'd have to open the current contract, and that's not where they currently dump. Okay, so we need all, in my opinion, we need all of that in front of us before we can make a recommendation, but we can listen to them and move it on for the selectmen to put it on town meeting. ARPA.
Wait, so sorry.
Yes.
This is where they're sorting the trash, right? That grant. Where
They're not, well,
we're
they,
separating it.
It's the color back.
Yeah,
they're gonna
yeah.
have the trash and the,
Where's this 140,000?
That is what the total dollar amount of the DEP grant is for the town of Bethany,
Okay.
assuming we meet all of the criteria
Mhm.
from
Mhm.
start to finish. And if we decide to abandon it part way, that 140 is not 140, it will be less. They assume the full 9-month process.
Mhm.
And part of that 9-month process does include a decision, a recommendation, and a plan of action to keep this in place if that's the route we're going to go.
But it will have a financial impact.
Yes.
Because
It's-
the grant would cover the additional expense for RWS to go to the other facility. So it would be. it would
Only
be
during the
impact
pilot.
Only during the pilot. So then that's what is the financial impact to the town? Once the pilot's over, if we should decide to continue. And we only have about less than a year and a half now on the contract with RWS. And to find someone to come to town to do townwide garbage is not easy.
Well, the thing is, we need the contract. We need a final version of.
And the town
contract.
has to approve that, right?
Yes,
Yes,
and
that
then
would
it'll
go
go
to
to,
the town. yeah.
it will go to a town. meeting. Yes, let's see, ARPA, I think you probably, hopefully you read your bulletin and saw that Paula had asked people who were interested in being part of a group to volunteer. So far, I think she's just had a couple of people have suggestions rather than volunteer.
Once, that was it, but no one to do it.
Well, anyway, that's where it is, and so she's gonna reiterate that in the next bulletin
Okay.
also. Steve, you wanna?
Well,
update? It's just an update.
We're kind of basically on hold right now. The money has been allocated. And we have submitted the scope of work. We are waiting for the contract to come back to us from the state before we can start any of the work. We have to have that signed contract in hand before we can start the work, or they will not reimburse us for the work if we do it, if we jump the gun and start the work before the contract. is
So
signed.
paving won't be done till next year then.
Right,
Spring,
it'll be
right.
done in the spring.
Yeah, because they're shutting down.
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
and they're saying that we should have the contract by the end of the year.
And it still has to go to a town meeting because it's a capital project. Then the two Cabrera grants are just in process.
Yeah, we have actually heard from the two contacts that we have at the state on that.
Because I reached out to Mr. Cabrera, but apparently he didn't know that, so he was
Well,
here today.
The official word is, oh yeah, you are a municipality. You don't fit the Survey Monkey questions. We'll get back to you on how you complete it to get the money. We've had another town ask the same question, but they don't know how to help us navigate because it's not a loss of revenue. The reason for it. And we don't qualify for, and we're not a nonprofit, so we don't fit the parameters of the questionnaire in order to go to step 2 of the application process to get the money. So there is a workaround. They just haven't given us the workaround yet for it.
And the governor has announced that we're getting these two grants.
The Cabrera two grants.
And he was here, Mr. Cabrera was here today and actually reconfirmed that the money had been allocated, but, and I explained to him
Yes.
that we were kind of in a snafu with the process a little bit, but.
Yeah.
So,
And then the other one, there's nothing going on yet.
no,
Right?
Correct.
we're just in holding pattern.
Right one, okay. In terms of moving on to the chairman's report. Well, first of all, the Amity Finance Committee does not meet until next week. So, because of the date, so I have no particular report on that, other than that, I did have one meeting with the chairs of the other two boards of finance. And just to see how we could possibly influence the budgeting process for Amity. And we shall see. We're certainly all interested in having some input into the process and having the collective town's budgetary issues being taken seriously. The other thing is the meeting dates
At the
in,
very last page.
yes, the very last page, it's. We always have to file
On the very
this.
back, very back of the packet.
back of- We have to file our dates with the Secretary of the State. And it requires our approval. These are the second Tuesdays of all the months. So we need a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Okay,
Second,
discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
So thank you, that makes it unanimous for those present and voting. First selectmen's report,
Well, I think we've covered most of the grant stuff already,
Right.
but if you've noticed when you came in that the hallway project is coming along very nicely. We hope to have the wood, I think, next week. So that will go up, and then the carpet will be the last piece, and I don't know if we'll be finished by Thanksgiving, but it should be, if not by Thanksgiving, shortly after Thanksgiving, everything should be complete. So they're moving along very, very nicely, because they're great. For doing the work, so.
sure, they work fast.
Yes, they do. They are very, very efficient and very thorough, so very pleased.
Really? Next thing, our finance director, Leslie, the audit.
The audit is ongoing. John and his associates have been in the building. They will be back again tomorrow. So far, the only thing we have, the only challenge we have is obtaining the reports in the right format that we need to do the GASB reporting and, you know, all the gap and all that fun stuff, because the system is designed by a state that does not report the way we report. So we have to work around a lot of things and create documents out of what we can extract in Excel. So that is our biggest challenge, but we are both working through it. So I will know more when he is finished, but he does have everything to my knowledge that he needs. If there's additional things he needs, it's because it has not been asked for up to this point. But we are working to get it resolved and get through it as rapidly as we can. I've chosen to table the purchase policy until December because I have not had any feedback as of this point from the department heads. And they were given the information to take a look at, and I have not gotten any feedback yet from them. And I know that there is one department head that read the entire document and said she would have some input. She had some comments, but I do not have them yet. So that's why I'm tabling that till next month. The budget templates, Sharon and I are working on modifying and doing the final adaptation to make it in sync with how our account system is structured versus the accounting system that it was modeled off of. And I do have one item that is not on the agenda. It was brought to my attention today that there is a small disconnect between our personnel manual and the defined contribution plan. According to the terms of the defined contribution plan, contributions can only be made twice a year, on December 31st and June 30th. But our personnel manual says that after one full year of employment, you are entitled to have contributions placed into it. So what that means is any individual that is hired between January 1st and June 30th is not eligible for anything until December 31st. So they could be losing out on anywhere from 1 to 5.5 months.
Okay.
So there is an amendment. I have an amendment to fix that. to adjust that to allow for partial funding based off of the employment, to bring the two in line. And it would be, this would be date for going back so that we could get the retro money in for the employees that did start during calendar year 22, where we had funded, we actually sent the money into them to fund individuals partially. But there's nothing in there in accounts for some individuals, even though we have sent them the money, because we were working under the terms of the personnel manual, not the terms of the defined contribution plan. So the question is, does anyone here have an objection to modifying the plan, to amending the plan to allow for vesting of the employees on their anniversary as opposed to just twice a year? And on the flip side is someone who would retire. If they retire in May, you can't fund January to June. Their funding would stop as of December of the prior year.
So you're asking us to allow for proration.
Yes, I'm asking
Okay.
I'm asking to allow for proration.
And why only twice a year instead of
Monthly.
monthly?
I don't know. But it is set up for just twice a year.
So is there an escrow account to accumulate the funds up until the 6 months? I mean, how is that?
Well, we budget every year
Mhm.
for full funding of all those eligible based off of their salaries.
Mhm.
So we have the money set aside in the budget for it,
Okay,
but we just don't physically pay it out and submit it to them until July and January.
So it would just be for the first 5.5 months of a new employees, you're saying?
Correct.
Yeah.
And on the back end for those that retire, that we could still fund a partial if someone decides to retire,
or leave.
or leave,
Mhm.
retire or leave.
Okay, so do you have language from Vin or is that a
This is-
revision from us?
This is an agreement from Lafayette,
Okay,
which is the third party that handles it. It states that whereas the town of Bethany, the employer, maintains the town of Bethany's defined contribution plan for its employees, whereas the town of Bethany has decided that it is in the best interest to amend the plan. Whereas the plan authorizes the employer to amend the selections under the town of Bethany, Connecticut defined contribution plan adoption agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Bethany defined contribution plan adoption agreement is amended as follows. The plan is amended to remove the requirement of being employed on the last day of the plan year to share in the employer non-elective allocation in the plan for the plan year as permitted under Treasury Regulation 1.401. Resolve further that the above amendment to the town of Bethany's defined contribution plan adoption agreement is effective for the 2020 plan year. And then it just goes on to say that to sign it and date it and that stuff.
so do we know how this was approved originally? Does it require a vote of the town meeting? Or is it enough for us to recommend to the Board of Selectmen as the executive?
From what I understand, it was approved by the Board of Finance in the past.
Okay,
But this plan is in place for 17 or 18 years.
okay. So that's before our time, all of us.
Yeah.
And what did Vin say about our ability? Did he agree? Was he okay with?
I don't even know if we had,
This is the first time I'm hearing about this, so this, yeah.
Okay, so I can't think of any reason not to do it. I personally think it's unfair to employees not to do it. I don't understand why we don't do it monthly so that they
Mhm.
get the benefit of compounding. So I think we should visit that, but I would entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
But shouldn't we add that? I agree with you about the monthly. I think we should.
Well, I think that's a more substantive change than,
All right, so you
Then
just want to do
they-
this for that.
So,
time
yes,
being.
just because they drafted this.
Okay.
So will you move this?
I'll so move.
Is this being moved to recommend to the selectmen, or are you approving it, right? Approving it to move forward?
If it was only approved by us, then
Then, okay, I just
Then
want to
we-
double check, that's
Yep,
all. I just
we
wanna
will do
double check.
this. But then it'll be forwarded to the selectmen because you have to execute it.
Right. For my.
Okay. All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi,
Okay, so it's 5-0. Yes, I think it is definitely. I think we probably were all going, yeah, we really ought to be looking at making those contributions more frequently. Because. Yeah, we're committing the funds anyway, so why not let them earn
What-
more?
And what's the start period? They have to, how long do they have to go before we start?
one
contributing?
full year before you're eligible.
I think we should look at that too.
Yes, yes. You know, it's really interesting.
I agree with that.
Yes. All of these terms ought to be looked at. The another. Something that goes the opposite way is that. For health insurance, if someone is over 21, they're vested immediately. Right? But if they're not, they have to be here 6 months for the
No,
health
I-
insurance.
The
Isn't
way,
that the?
no, right now, the way the health insurance benefits work is. At the conclusion of the night, there's a 90-day probationary period, and at the end of the 90 days, then you are eligible for them.
But there's something in there that also says that if you're over 21, they go into effect immediately. It was in what, oh, so I must have looked at an older document.
Yeah.
There, well,
Not
there,
that I'm aware of.
there were some,
So,
when we were trying to find these things, there were some. There was some very ancient history and no recent history. in some of
I
them.
was gonna say that, I've never heard that, yeah.
Oh,
Never
no,
heard that.
because I said, this is very weird and unfair. Okay, but there should probably be sometime in the next year, put together a combination committee of perhaps the selectmen, a couple of members of finance, and some representatives of the of employees, those who are not under contract, under the union contract, to
We do.
work on those. That's just a suggestion. But it's.
Because, I mean, the way it works right now is back to the year.
Mhm,
After you complete the 365 days,
mhm.
then then what would be deposited into that account would be 8% of your annual income.
Okay. And it's for the last year?
Yes,
No.
it's like if you were
Oh, all right,
employed
so
for
they're
that
not
whole
really-
year.
They're not really losing it. They're
No.
just not.
No,
oh,
yeah,
okay, all right,
Yeah, it's
okay.
put in at the, so then every 6 months thereafter, then we would be funding.
Okay,
Then, so you would get half of your pay put in at the 6 month.
June 30, and then.
But if it were put in more often, on a monthly basis, then you still would benefit from the investment.
personally, I think we should look at moving that timeline up. Maybe to coincide with the
The
health,
90
with the
days.
90-day thing and then start immediately, monthly contributions
Or at least shrink it maybe to quarterly,
or quarterly. Okay, whatever.
but.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do some,
Okay.
And then I'll make sure that that goes on the agenda for next week, because of next week's special meeting for us.
Mhm.
So I have to make sure whatever's on that agenda, because we can't add or adjust.
So the next item on our agenda then is the clerk position.
It is still open. I have an interview tomorrow morning. I was that close to extending an offer, and the individual advised me that they took another position. So it's bound to happen, which is okay, but I'm still looking. I have faith that we will find someone.
She walked into our world, so I know there's someone out there that will walk into her, so. That's optimistic.
It has occurred to me that perhaps we should suggest the hiring of a temp until while this is being pursued, because among other things, because of Kelly being somewhat Kelly is bad, has a really bad injury and she can't work as quickly. So rather than doing what she had been doing before, which was like the work of at least 1.5 people, now she's kind of
Limited a little bit, so.
and she's going to need surgery probably, right?
Oh, no.
They,
Not positive
we're
yet,
not,
but-
we don't know yet. She is having a procedure done on Thursday, and she's hopeful that it will, that it will rectify the situation, that she can avoid surgery.
And that would be wonderful, but it also would be nice, in addition to having someone on an interim basis who can pick up what we desperately need being done, it would also be somebody to back her up. Because the last thing we need is to have no one
Let's hope that tomorrow's interview will
down
be.
there. Yes, well, that would be, that would be wonderful. That
Yeah.
would be outstanding. I
Yeah.
just think, I don't
Sure.
think it needs for us to approve it. I think it's for them to do, but
Yeah.
I personally think getting somebody in here is a good idea.
Sure.
And the way we got Kelly here was she was here as an interim.
Yeah.
And she came in as a temp, and
Yeah.
and you get good people as temps. So,
Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
okay.
So I hire contractors all the time. The temp, I know what a temp agency is, but like I haven't heard of anyone using it in a long time. Is it still the same thing as a contractor now, or?
Yes, well, if you go to someone like Robert Half, you're looking at someone who's dealing with people who should be professionally qualified, at least in the specific field.
Right, right.
So that would be like you going to an engineering contracting
Yeah, yeah.
firm. or-
I mean, and it could be
Whatever.
a temp to a permanent hire too.
But are there
So-
temp agencies nowadays that
there's
are
more.
different than contractor agencies, or it's
Yes.
just, yeah,
Mhm.
okay. It's just a professional qualification.
Definitely in accounting there are.
Of course. And engineering, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
yeah. But we use them for analysts and like, there's,
Mhm.
yeah, for sure. Okay.
Yeah, that just happens to be a specialized. Okay, the next thing, December 13th, why is this on our agenda?
Because it's not a bad idea to post when the next meeting is on the current agenda.
Oh, all right.
As a reminder.
Just a reminder.
All right, I was
I
afraid
know,
somebody
it
was
got me
gonna-
thinking it was a special meeting or something.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's standard from all agendas I've ever done before.
Okay,
Just
just don't keep
And
doing it. I just want-
informational line, the next meeting is.
That's
I think-
good,
and I
because
think I
that way
already
when we
have to
read
report
the
it.
minutes of this meeting, we'll remember. Okay, so it is now 7:31. I had promised John 7:30, but
We started.
please what?
I said we started late, so you're still on your
Yes, well, that's
30-minute
true.
mark.
Okay. And so there's the last item on the agenda is adjournment, so could I have such a motion?
So move.
Second.
John and John?
Yeah.
Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Katie.
Oh,
Liz, are you still
bounced
there?
off. No,
You bounced
just
off.
bounced off.
Oh, okay.
We're adjourned, so.
All right, thank you. So
Okay, Kathy, how's your sister
Okay.
doing?
Bye-bye.
I